All right, so are you ready to dive into some really effective communication tips in English? We've got this script here, and it's all about boosting those communication skills.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting about it is it's not just focusing on your typical grammar and vocab.
Right.
It goes way deeper, like into the psychology of how we communicate, the little cues and the things that we don't always say out loud that can really make or break how we connect.
I like that, beyond the words.
Exactly.
So it starts off pretty basic, defining communication, right? The whole exchanging information and thoughts and feelings thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it goes beyond that, emphasizing that it's a two-way street. Like, it's not just me talking at you.
Right. It's not a lecture.
It's not a lecture.
More like, I don't know,
Yeah.
tennis, maybe. Like volleying ideas back and forth.
I like that.
Yeah.
And just like in tennis, you got to pay attention to, what the other person is doing.
Oh, for sure. Anticipate the next shot.
Right, exactly.
In communication, I guess that means being a really active listener. Like, you're not just waiting to jump in with your own thing.
Yeah.
You're really tuned in to what the other person's saying, and not just the words either.
Right, that's a good point. I'll admit sometimes I get so caught up in what I'm thinking that I might miss those subtle cues.
Yeah, totally. Happens to all of us.
The script, it actually taught how crucial that is for building trust.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. If someone feels heard, they're going to open up more, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Think about it. When was the last time someone really listened to you? Like, without interrupting or trying to?
Give advice you didn't ask for.
Exactly. It just makes you feel, I don't know, respected, valued. That's the power of it, I think.
Totally, totally. It makes me think about all those times where I've felt, completely misunderstood. Like, my message just beffed, gone.
Oh, yeah.
The script even points out that a lot of communication breakdowns, they happen because we're assuming the other person gets it.
Yeah, so true. We jump to conclusions or make assumptions without taking the time to be like, hey, wait,
Yeah.
do you actually understand what I'm saying? And then that's when,
Miscommunication.
arguments happen, yeah. The script gives this funny example. It's like, instead of just saying, can you help me with this?
Oh, yeah.
We turn it into this big convoluted thing like, I was wondering if you might possibly have the time to assist me with this project.
Oh, my gosh. So guilty of that.
If it's not too much trouble, of course.
I think it's because I'm trying to be polite, but it ends up just confusing the message.
Right. Like, what are you actually asking?
So the script is really big on just be clear and concise.
Yes. Especially, if you're in a job interview or giving a presentation,
Important stuff.
you got to get to the point and make it memorable.
Make it count. Okay, so speaking of making an impact, this script goes into body language. And this is fascinating to me. Apparently, over 70% of how we communicate is not even words.
It's crazy, right? It's all about how we stand, our facial expressions, the tone of our voice.
Wow, 70%, that's huge.
Yeah, it makes you realize how much we're saying without even saying anything.
So I got to ask myself, am I slouching? Am I standing tall? Am I making eye contact? Or am I, looking at my phone?
Yeah, because people are picking up on that stuff.
That's true.
They're reading you whether you realize it or not.
So imagine, you're giving a presentation, right? And you're all hunched over, avoiding eye contact. You're talking in a monotone. Even if what you're saying is brilliant, your body's telling a different story.
Exactly. It's like you're saying, I'm not confident. I'm not even interested in what I'm talking about.
Right, and that can totally undermine your whole message.
Absolutely.
It's like your body's saying one thing, your words are saying something else. Total mixed messages. The skip mentions, especially in emails or texts, that mismatched tone can cause so much confusion.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Have you ever experienced that?
All the time. Like, I'll send an email thinking it's friendly and helpful, and the person on the other end, they read it as, curt and dismissive.
Oh, no.
Just because my tone was off.
I see, yeah.
And then it creates this whole, misunderstanding.
Right, because you don't have those other cues.
Exactly. So even in writing, we've got to be mindful of our tone.
I get it. Okay, so the script goes on to assertive communication, which I think could be kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Because assertive doesn't mean aggressive, right?
No, not at all. It's more about expressing yourself clearly and respectfully.
Right, but while respecting the other person, too.
Exactly. Finding that balance.
So it's kind of like not being a pushover, but not being a steamroller either.
Right, exactly. You're standing up for yourself, but you're not you know.
Running people over.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And a big part of that, the script says, is confidence. But, like, what does that even mean? Like, when it comes to communication, how do you show confidence?
That's a good question. I don't think it's about being the loudest person in the room
Right.
or always having the perfect answer.
No. I think it's more about, like, believing in what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
owning it, and not being afraid to, be yourself and share your thoughts and feelings, like, authentically.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of it comes from knowing what you're talking about,
Yeah.
being prepared,
Hmm.
and also being okay with, like, a little bit of silence.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You don't have to fill every pause with words.
Like, it's okay to breathe.
Exactly.
All right, well, even the most confident communicators, right, we face challenges sometimes.
Oh, all the time.
And that's where the script talks about, like, barriers to effective communication.
Yeah, those things that trip us up.
Right, like it mentions language differences, the fear of speaking in public, misinterpretations.
It's important to remember that everyone hits these at some point.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like a sign of weakness. It's just part of being human.
Yeah.
The key is figuring out how to get past them.
And the script has some really good advice on that, right? Like, for language, it says, focus on growing your vocabulary, just practice speaking regularly, and don't be afraid to keep it simple if you're not sure about a word.
Yeah, and be patient with yourself.
Oh, that's good.
Celebrate the small wins. Like, learning a language takes time.
That's true.
You got to give yourself credit for every step forward.
Absolutely. For fear of public speaking, the script is all about preparation, practicing, knowing your stuff. The more familiar you are with it, the more confident you'll be.
It's true. And, it's okay to be nervous. It happens to everyone. Even the pros get butterflies.
Yeah, that's true.
It's about channeling that energy,
Oh, yeah.
turning those nerves into something that helps you.
So it's not about getting rid of the nerves.
No.
It's like managing them.
Exactly. And one way to do that is to focus on what you're actually trying to say.
Mm-hmm. The message.
Why are you up there? What do you want to share?
Right?
How can your message help the people listening?
Yeah, so shift the focus, like not on you,
Exactly.
but on the value you're bringing.
Exactly.
Makes sense. And then for those pesky misinterpretations, the script's advice is to be super clear, specific, ask for feedback to make sure everyone's on the same page, and don't jump to conclusions.
Yes. It's always better to just double check than to assume,
Oh, yeah, assumptions can be dangerous.
especially in communication. Better to be direct, ask questions, and make sure everyone understands.
All right, so we covered a lot here, but there's more. The script goes on to lay out some exercises to actually put this knowledge to work. And they sound pretty fun, actually. We'll get into those in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, they're not your typical boring exercises. They're more like challenges, almost like games,
Cool.
that help you become a better communicator, and they're designed for real-life situations.
Okay, so they're not just theoretical.
No, not at all. They get you out of your comfort zone and trying out different ways of communicating. Like, it's a playground for your communication skills.
I love that. All right, so which one caught your eye first?
Well, I was really intrigued by the record and review exercise.
Oh, yeah.
It's where you record yourself talking and then you listen back to it.
I used to hate hearing my own voice recorded, but the script makes a good point that it's not about being, like, overly critical of yourself.
Yeah, it's more about self-awareness, right?
Exactly. Like holding up a mirror to how you communicate and seeing, okay, what could I tweak?
It's amazing what you notice when you hear yourself from the outside,
Yeah.
Like, maybe you talk super fast, or you say and like way more than you thought, or maybe you like trail off at the end of your sentences.
It's like you become your own communication coach.
Exactly.
You can catch those little things that you don't even realize you're doing, and then, you can work on them. Plus, it can be really encouraging to hear yourself actually getting better over time.
Absolutely. It's like tracking your progress with any other skill. The more you practice, the better you get.
Right, the stronger those communication muscles become. And speaking of practice, another exercise that I thought was really cool was the mirror speaking technique. It's classic for a reason.
Oh, yeah, that one's so simple, but it works.
Yeah, the script says, practice different situations in front of a mirror.
It's like having a built-in practice buddy who's always available.
Exactly.
And you can practice anything, right? A tough conversation you need to have, a job interview, even just everyday stuff.
Right.
The key is to really pay attention to your body language.
Yeah,
How are you coming across? That mirror is like an objective observer.
that's true.
It can show you those little nonverbal cues that might be giving the wrong message.
It could be really eye-opening, I bet. Okay, so if you want something a little more interactive, the script also talks about role-playing. Practicing those conversations with a friend or a colleague.
Oh, I love that one.
It's like a dress rehearsal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For those real-life interactions, you can practice anything like ordering at a restaurant, answering interview questions, or having that tricky conversation with a coworker.
And you get instant feedback from someone you trust. They can tell you what's working, what needs work, and even suggest different ways to say things.
It's like having your own personal communication coach right there in your corner.
Plus, it's fun.
Oh, yeah. It takes the pressure off, and you can even, inject some humor into it.
Totally.
Okay, so are you ready for the ultimate communication challenge?
Hit me with it.
The script calls it the 60-second challenge.
Ooh, I haven't heard of that one. What is it?
Basically, you pick a topic, any topic, and you got to talk about it for a whole minute without stopping.
Wow.
No ums, no ahs, just a constant flow of thoughts and ideas.
Oh, man. That sounds like a real test of, thinking on your feet and being able to just articulate clearly under pressure.
It's like a mental workout for your communication skills.
I love it.
And it can be a lot of fun, too, especially do it with a friend and you pick, some wacky topics.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got record and review, mirror speaking, role-playing, and the 60-second challenge. They're all about getting you out of that comfort zone and experimenting with different communication styles.
And they all come back to one thing: practice.
It's not about perfection. It's about effort.
Exactly. Like any other skill, the more you practice, the better you get.
So try out these exercises, find what works for you, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Absolutely. Have fun with it.
Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let's take a second and think about why this all matters, right? Why is effective communication so important?
That's a great question. I think it's important in every area of life, but especially now when,
Yeah.
the world's so interconnected. English is often the language of business, education, global collaboration.
True?
So being able to communicate clearly and confidently in English, it opens so many doors.
Yeah.
Professionally, personally, even culturally.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just getting your point across. It's about, building relationships, fostering understanding, creating those meaningful connections with people from all walks of life. And that's something worth working towards, wherever you are on your English language journey.
For sure. It's about appreciating the beauty of language and using it to connect with others on a deeper level. So in the last part of our deep dive, we'll wrap up all the key takeaways
Right.
and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to ponder as you continue on your communication adventure.
Awesome. Can't wait. See you in part 3.
See you there. Okay, so ready to put all these communication tips into practice. This script, it lays out a bunch of exercises, but they're not boring homework assignments.
Yeah, I was actually a little intimidated when I first saw the word exercises, I'll be honest. But these are different. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all about making you a more confident communicator, like in the real world.
Real life stuff, yeah.
They really encourage you to kind of step outside your comfort zone a little.
Experiment.
Exactly. Try different ways of communicating. It's almost like a playground for your communication skills.
I like that analogy. Okay, so which one jumps out at you first?
Well, the one that really caught my eye is the record and review exercise.
Oh, yeah? What's that one?
It's where you record yourself speaking, and then you got to listen back to it.
Oh, I used to absolutely cringe at the thought of hearing my own voice recorded. But the script makes a good point. It's not about, beating yourself up over every little mistake.
Right. It's not about being perfect.
It's more about self-awareness.
Yeah, like holding up a mirror to how you sound.
Right, and seeing, what can I tweak? What can I do a little better?
It's amazing what you pick up on, when you hear yourself from that outside perspective.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe you realize you talk really fast, or you say and constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you trail off at the end of your sentences.
That's me. That's me.
Things like that.
It's like you become your own communication coach.
Exactly. You can identify those little habits that you might not even realize you're doing, and then you can work on them.
Right, yeah. And it can be encouraging, too, to hear yourself improving over time.
Oh, absolutely. It's like tracking your progress with any other skill. The more you do it, the better you get.
The stronger those communication muscles get. Speaking of practice, another exercise that I thought was interesting was the mirror speaking technique. That one's a classic.
Oh, yeah. Super simple, but it really works.
It is. It is. The script basically says, just practice different situations, but do it in front of a mirror.
It's like having a built-in practice buddy.
That's always available. Exactly, yeah.
And you can practice anything, too, right? Like a difficult conversation you're dreading.
Oh, yeah.
A job interview, even just everyday stuff.
The key is to really pay attention to your body language. How are you coming across? The mirror, it's like an objective observer,
Mhm. Totally. It can show you those nonverbal cues that you might be sending that might not be the message you want to send.
Right, right. It can be really eye-opening. Okay, so if you're looking for something, a little more interactive, the script also talks about role-playing. So practicing those conversations with a friend or colleague.
Oh, I love that one. It's like a dress rehearsal,
It is, for those real-life interactions. You can practice anything, like ordering food at a restaurant, answering those tough interview questions, or navigating that, tricky conversation with a coworker.
And what's great is you get feedback right away from someone you trust,
Yeah.
They can tell you what worked, what didn't, maybe even suggest different ways to say things.
It's like having a personal communication coach in your corner.
Exactly. Plus, it's just fun.
Oh, yeah. It takes the pressure off and you can, have a few laughs while you're learning.
Absolutely.
Okay, are you ready for like the ultimate communication challenge?
Okay, lay it on me. What is it?
The 60-second challenge. Have you ever heard of this one?
Ooh, no. What's that?
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You choose a topic, any topic, and you have to talk about it for a full minute.
A whole minute. Wow.
Nonstop. No ums, no ahs, no pauses. Just a constant flow of thoughts and ideas.
Oh, man. That is a challenge.
It is.
I can see how that would really help you think on your feet and be able to articulate your thoughts clearly, even under pressure.
Exactly, yeah. It's like a mental workout for your communication skills.
I love it.
And it could be a lot of fun, especially if you do it with, a friend and you pick some funny topics.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so we've got record and review, mirror speaking, role-playing, and the 60-second challenge. All about pushing you out of your comfort zone, getting you to experiment with different communication styles.
And the common thread through all of them: practice.
Practice, practice, practice.
It's not about being perfect. It's about putting in the effort.
Exactly. It's a skill, and like any skill, the more you practice, the better you're going to get.
Totally.
So try out these exercises, find what works for you, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Yeah, have fun. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Now, before we get to the final part of our deep dive, I want to take a minute to think about why this all matters. Why is effective communication so important?
That's a great question. I think it's important in every aspect of life, but especially now, when the world is so interconnected. English is often the language of business, education, global collaboration.
Yeah, it really is. It's everywhere.
So being able to communicate clearly, confidently in English, it opens so many doors for people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Professionally, personally, even culturally.
I think it's even more than just getting your point across, though. It's about building those relationships. It's about creating understanding, making those connections with people,
For sure.
from all walks of life. And that's something worth working towards, no matter where you are on your English language journey.
Absolutely. It's about, embracing the beauty of language and using it as a tool to connect with people on a deeper level. So in the last part of our deep dive, we're going to wrap up all the key takeaways from this script.
Okay, sounds good.
And we'll leave you with some thought-provoking ideas to ponder as you continue on your communication journey.
All right, perfect. I'm looking forward to it. See you in part 3. Welcome back. So we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? It's like we've opened up this treasure chest of communication tips and tricks all about being more effective in English.
And we even got to play around with some of those cool exercises. But, the big thing is it's not about memorizing a script or anything. It's more about finding what works for you.
Yeah, like build those communication muscles,
Exactly. So let's take a minute, just kind of recap what we've learned, the key takeaways from this whole deep dive.
All right, sounds good. What do you think is the most important thing?
I think the biggest thing is remembering that communication is a two-way street. It's not just about getting your message out there.
Right.
It's also about making sure the other person gets it. It's about sending a clear message, but also making sure it's received.
Like building a bridge.
Yes, a bridge of understanding. And, the foundation of that bridge is active listening.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It's about really tuning into what the other person is saying, both the words and, all those little unspoken things.
I love it. It's not just hearing. It's like really absorbing, right? The emotions, the intentions, all that.
Exactly. And let's not forget about body language. I mean, that can speak volumes, sometimes even louder than words, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's like 70% of communication, right? Crazy.
It is crazy. So being aware of how you're standing, your facial expressions, your tone of voice, that can make a world of difference in how your message comes across.
It's like you're constantly sending signals, whether you realize it or not.
All the time. So you make sure those signals are matching up with what you're saying, right?
Right, exactly. Okay, and confidence. Big one.
Huge. But it's not about being arrogant,
No.
It's about having that quiet assurance.
Like, you know your stuff, you believe in what you're saying.
Exactly.
It's like that feeling when you're really passionate about something.
Yes. Your enthusiasm just naturally shines through.
And people pick up on that. Okay, but we've got to be real, Even the most confident communicators, we hit roadblocks sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about those barriers, remember?
Right, those pesky barriers, language differences, the fear of public speaking, all those misinterpretations that can just throw a wrench in the whole thing.
Yeah, they can be frustrating, but the good news is they're not impossible to overcome.
Right.
There are things we can do, like, working with our vocabulary, practicing speaking more, asking for feedback, making sure we're clear, all that good stuff.
So it's really about taking those little steps, making that consistent effort, right?
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination.
Communication's a journey. I like that.
Always room to grow and get better.
Okay, so, thinking about all this, it makes me wonder, like, who do I admire as a communicator? And I think sometimes it's not even the people who are, like, the most eloquent or the most, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's just the people who have that warmth, that genuine ability to connect, you know?
It's true. Pay attention to those people who make you feel heard, like they really get you. What is it about them? What can you learn from how they communicate?
And maybe it's their listening skills or the way they tell stories or how they just make everyone feel comfortable and welcome.
It's like they have this like magnetism, that draws people in and makes them want to listen.
So as you're on this journey to becoming a better communicator, I remember it's not just about mastering all the technical stuff, the grammar, the vocabulary. It's about that deeper connection, that ability to really share your thoughts and ideas in a way that resonates with people.
It's about finding your voice, your unique way of communicating, and using it to make a positive impact on the world.
That's a great way to put it. So keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep connecting with others. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy communicating. 76 Leaf.